Welcome back, everybody. We're on mixing video number 2. On the previous video we talked about having the correct sand and what sand you need to find, the correct chemicals, the admixtures that we need to use with that finer sand, and then the ratio of your sand to Portland, and some of the things that you need to be aware of with all that. In this video I'm going to go through all the things that you can do to test your mix. We're going to add all the ingredients here. I'll try to get as many angles and shots as I can, and show you how I teach a new mixer that's going to be working for me, Valley Borders, or if we're training a new company, on all the things that you can look for. Everybody's different, so what I do to test my mix to see when it's right is a completely different way than one of my guys might come up with that makes him a little bit more consistent. So I try to show the 7 or 8 different things and different ways that you can kind of test your mix and kind of look at it, and from there they got to kind of pick which ones kind of works for them. The way I test my mix is totally different than Andrew that mixes for me right now. Even though I showed him my way, he does it his way, and he's awesome. Same with the previous guys. They all had their ways, but you just got to kind of let them know and show them what the mix is supposed to look like. Take them to the machine, the first 2 or 3 or 4 mixes when they start, to see how it comes out of the machine, to see how that trowels and what it looks like, and then they can grab a handful of that when they go back and take a look at it and compare it to the next mix, and so they get kind of a rhythm and how everything. It might get a little loud, obviously, with the machines running. We run our own water, our own tanks, and so this is a small water pump, Honda pump. We take everything with us for cleaning and for mixing. So I'm going to get this all started up and going. We'll go ahead and basically I'm going to put my 18 shovels in, because that's what we use, and the Portland and the ingredients, and from there hopefully I can talk loud enough for you guys to kind of hear everything. Okay, now I've added my 18 shovels. Sand is going to be first. I'm going to go ahead and put my Portland in next. Drop that right on the cutter. The cutter right here. Drop it with the label side down. It's easier to cut. One 4-ounce scoop of gravy. At this time I would go ahead and put my color in. Tough curb I would put in there. For this we don't put it in, just because we're going to rip it up, but that's going to be another 2 to 3 ounce scoop. So that's in there mixing. I don't have to wait for that to mix at all. I can just go ahead and jump down there and start putting water in. I've just shut this off, and you shouldn't just shut this off in the middle of a mix, but I need to go ahead and explain this to you. Now obviously your paddles are spinning backwards, so when you dump this dumps into the thing. If you got a new mixer, or you got a mixer with a grate on the front, because that's the way they come, you need to take that off. That's for a safety issue, but it's a huge pain in the ass because you can't reach in there and test your mix. You're just doing it by look, and that's not something you can do. What I do suggest is, I've seen a lot of guys that just test their mix and they stand in, just stand in there, and they go ahead and reach in, or they take a look. What you need to do is get down on the side of the mixer and add your water, okay? And what you're going to do is use your left hand. You obviously don't want to put your right hand in here so it doesn't get caught. It's only common sense. Use your left hand and get in the routine, or tell your new mixer, get in the routine of grabbing the same amount off that paddle every single time. Okay, because there are so many different ways to test this, and you can use a lot of them in combination. when you're good and you are experienced, you should be able to close your eyes and be able to test that same handful every time, and be able to test that mix just by weight, just by how it feels in your hand and how heavy it is. You should be able to get very, very close to a perfect mix just by doing that. Okay, so you're going to grab that same handful. Now what I do is I'm mixing and I'm spraying it in there. You know, once this water starts to activate with that admixture, with that gravy in there, it wants to take off on you. Okay, it's going to get wet fast. So you guys that are using your hose to spray the corners to try to clean everything as it's mixing, don't do that, because it's going to just flash on you and it's going to be a sloppy mess, because you've just sprayed way too much in there. Okay, don't worry about cleaning. You can clean all that after the job is done. Okay, don't worry about cleaning it during the mix. Okay, so I'm going to grab this off this paddle the same every single time, and what I'm looking for first is how it feels between my fingers. Okay, it's a softer mix. It's going to start coming through my fingers, and the weight of it should get to a certain point where I can start to tell if it's getting close. Okay, from there I run my finger. Okay, if you run your finger through there, you can usually start to see some bubbles, you know, some water bubbles. The thing is, and it seems like it wouldn't, it seems kind of dumb, but if it's cloudy out or sunny out, okay, or if it's colored or not colored, it looks different when you do that. Okay, so if it's sunny out, you can see those bubbles really easy, but if it's cloudy, you can't. Okay, so if that's the only thing that you're relying on to test your mix, is if running your finger to see bubbles, if it's cloudy out, you can't see those bubbles. If it's colored compared to a lighter color like this, which is just concrete gray, it's harder to see also. It's totally different. So you got to have different ways of testing this that kind of combine everything. So I'm grabbing that every single time, the same handful every single time. I can feel it between my fingers. I can run my thumb. Okay. Another thing to look at is it should start, the machine should start to sound a little different. When you get a little bit more water in there, it's not as hard for it to mix that, so the machine doesn't you know, doesn't go up and down as much. Okay, you should be able to hear it kind of scraping on the bottom, that it's starting to get water in there. It's got different sounds, so you need to listen to those sounds also, because that'll let you know if you're getting close. Okay, a lot of guys will do the snowball deal, which is great. Okay, so they'll pack it with their hand, and then they'll see if it cracks or so on. That's fantastic. I don't do it that way, but if you want to do that, that's wonderful. Then they start to toss it up in the air. If you toss it up in the air and it's kind of falling apart, it's probably not sticking together as well. You can put a little bit more water on it, and so on, and you can do that. I know one of my guys, when he was getting close, he would drop it right into the empty wheelbarrow, and he could see how it fell and how it spread out on the empty wheelbarrow, and he knew he was getting close that way also. But he was also using several different other ways in combination with that. So you really got to look at a lot of things. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start the mixer back up again. I'm going to start adding water. You're going to notice that I'm hardly going to put any water in there, and it's going to get to a point where an extra half a second or an extra second of a squirt in there will get it too wet. Okay, so it doesn't take much water at all. Now this sand is not really wet, it's just normal sand. It's got a normal moisture content to it, so it's one of those things where the chemical in there is what's activating that whole thing. So you got to be very careful. And those guys that have mixed forever and haven't used this, they're going to forget, and they're going to start blasting water in there to clean stuff, and it's going to be a sloppy mess before they can even do anything about it. Okay, now I can tell by how it's falling off the paddles. You can see how it's falling off in small little chunks right there. I know that that's dry. Okay, so I can go ahead and just add a little bit more. You can see how I'm spraying. I'm not blasting it in there. I'm just spraying like a little bit of a mist in there. Okay, that's all I'm going to do, and this should start to turn on me. It's starting to fall in bigger chunks off the paddles, and I know that it's getting closer. I'm going to put a little bit more in there. Okay, now it's got a totally different look as it falls. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to just start to grab handfuls. Same spot every single time. Okay, every one of those handfuls is essentially about the same. Okay, now the first thing I'm looking at is I'm looking at how it feels between my fingers. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, and if I flip it over like that, it's sort of staying together now, but I can see my fingers. Okay, so I know I'm getting fairly close. I'm I'm looking at the weight right now, and I'm feeling the weight. It doesn't feel that heavy to me, okay? Because I know I should be a little bit heavier. Now, if I run my thumb in there, you really can't see any bubbles. So I know I'm getting, I know I need a little bit more water here. Okay, I'm not going to put much in there at all. It's about a 2-second squirt, okay? And that might be all we need to get it really, really close. Okay, I'm gonna start to grab. Now that feels heavier to me already. That little bit of water. Okay, I can toss. It's staying together pretty good. Okay. Now I know what this should feel like coming out of the machine and all that. If I sent this to the machine, it would be okay. Okay. If you look really close, you can see some bubbles in there. And if there was sunlight out right now, you'd be able to see them. So I know I'm getting close. Now I could do a snowball like some guys do. Okay, they make a snowball like this and then they toss it up in the air. See how it stays together. Okay, that's one other way to look at it too. Now I know this is probably a little bit dry because I'm a finisher. I'm going to put another 1-second squirt in there, and we're going to see where we're at. I can see it's falling a lot different off there now. Okay, and that feels a lot better. See it between my fingers. One more little squirt. Okay, we're gonna look at this now. Our first mix of every job, we don't clean out. We don't clean out anything after every mix. Right inside there, there's probably 2 to 3 feet of curb still sitting in there. We leave that, okay? We don't take a hoe and clean it out. We don't do anything because the next mix now will be normal. You can see I don't have much in the wheelbarrow. First mix of the day, and most curbing guys will tell you, first mix of the day, you're gonna be short. You're probably gonna be about 10 feet. And then every mix after that will be normal 15 to 16 foot mix. The last mix of the day, when you take your hoe and you clean everything out and you put it in there, you're getting a couple extra feet because that's what's left in there. So you got a short mix on the first one, a long mix on the last one, but doesn't mean your ratio's wrong. Now I look at this too as it goes right into the pile driver here. Okay, you can see some nice big chunks. Okay, they're fairly large. They come out of there. If you're getting bigger chunks like this, you know that your moisture content in there is pretty good. If there's a lot of small ones and not any real big ones like this, you're probably dry. If it's too wet and you dump it and it flattens out kind of like a big elephant turd, you're probably wet. And if it gets to that point where it really flattens out, what I would do is go ahead and shovel that back into the mixer, maybe take a half a shovel of sand, put it in there to try to get it back close to normal. That half a shovel is not going to make much difference on your ratio on the other end. Some guys like to just leave it and let it sit, you know, for a half hour, let it dry out. I'd rather just put it back in, add a little bit to it, and try to get it back to somewhat normal usage. So what I'm going to do here is I got my machine set up over there. I'm going to go ahead and run this mix, and we're going to, you know, see what it looks like. And this is what you should be teaching your mixer also. His first mix, we're going to go ahead and dump it. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to shut the mixer down. We're going to take him over to the machine. We'll shovel it in, and we're going to have him watch that come out of the curb machine and explain to him, okay, you see that? How, you know, it may have a little wobble to it, it may be really stiff, it looks like it's dry. You can explain to them what it comes out of the machine, what it's supposed to look like, and then when you get down on the ground and you start to finish it and trowel it, he can listen. Okay, listen, did you hear that? That might be a little dry because you can hear the sound of the trowel on it. If it's wet, you can see it. So he takes a look at that, and you go, okay, now grab a leftover handful that's in the wheelbarrow, grab that, take a look at it, and I want you to take that back with you to the mixer. Okay, and I want you to just kind of study that and feel it and look at it, and then on the next mix, you'll be able to remember, hey, I remember that last one because it was only a couple minutes ago. Okay, I think it's going to be this close. And then you do it again, dump it, have them go over, see what it looks like coming out. If you got a guy that's really with it, that's got a good handle on things, 3 or 4 mixes, and then you kind of let them go on your own. What I do is, you know, especially on the first couple jobs, instead of having him come over after the 3rd or 4th mix, I have him get it ready in the mixer, you know, because I'm coming back and checking every one. I have him get it ready in the mixer. When he thinks he's ready and it's good, I'll have him call me over, and we'll jump up there and take a look at it and see, you know, how close he is. I might say, hey, you know what, try an extra squirt of water in there, and in case, feel that, see how it sounds, all that kind of stuff. And usually after the first job, they can get pretty good. I refer to mixers as percenters. I got a mixer right now. Andrew he's a 90%er. I got another one that Drew works in the shop building machines. He was a 90%er, meaning that out of every 10 mixes, there's one that might be a little dry or a little wet. The rest of them are flat out perfect, which makes our job on that end super easy. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. So we're gonna run this over there. I'm gonna try to shovel that into the machine myself. We're gonna see what it looks like, and we'll come back and do another mix. You look at that, see how it bounces just a little bit? It's got a little bit of a bounce as it comes out. I know that that's pretty close. That's nice and soft. Okay, now what I've done with this is I just put we got a brake on that machine, PR Sting. I put the brake on just slightly so I can get a little bit of back pressure compaction when on flat level ground. I know there's a lot out there, a lot of guys out there that would see a whole ton of voids and things that they have to fix. Now, if you watched our other videos, then you're gonna know, you know, about our troweling lubricant. We call this Kanga piss. And you know that we use two trowels on the curb here. Okay, so a finishing trowel, okay, which does not have a flare on the back, and a regular trowel. All I'm gonna have to do here is go forward with this. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see this. Okay, I don't need to go back and forth. Just gonna go forward, just like that. Okay, I'm gonna spray that again. Not too much. Mix is pretty close right there. And again, I'm just going to go forward. Just one hand. That's finished. Okay. Now, our sink out here. Now, again, the issue with using a concrete sand is when you're cutting joints and you got all those pebbles in there. Okay, it cuts like butter. I don't got to do much to that. It doesn't peel on the back, peel on the front. We use a regular wheel like this to clean it up. Okay, so our next mix, this is only about 10 feet. I can step that off. Usually what I do is I just, a normal step 1, 2, 3. We got a little bit left in there. We're at about 10 feet. Now remember, I got a bunch left in the mixer that I didn't clean out. I got another foot that's in left right here. I don't really care because that's all coming on the next mix. But if your mix is right, everything is over there is right, that's how easy this should be. This shouldn't be work. Hey, you can see how smooth it came out. Obviously, the guy driving this, he doesn't know how to operate anything, but I got a little bit of a blowout to do there, but as far as that's concerned, that looks like a pretty decent mix. Just at first glance, I think if I had an extra squirt of water in there, it might be a little bit easier for me. Okay, so that's all it should be. Shouldn't have to work much more than that. Obviously, Mr. Squiggles here, but hopefully that helps you guys with your mix a little bit. Correct sand, chemicals, ratios. That right there got me about 15 feet. I think we're about right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 15. That's about where you need to be. So, all right, guys. Hopefully that helps. We'll see you in the next one.